All right, let me give you an update on what's happening in the House of Representatives with the budget and the spending bills. Are we going to have a government shutdown? Well, we certainly could. 15 days away now. And, Republicans are taking a long weekend. They'll come back to work tomorrow. It's nice of them to come back for that 4-day work week. We appreciate it because, there's not that much to do other than pass the spending bill that they've had a year to pass. And, of course, haven't done, because they've been very busy passing bills with names like the Save Our Appliances Act and, Stop Woke Hairdressers Act. I mean, I made up the second one, but barely. All right. So they have been busy, conducting their theater, and Democrats, who are very good at governing, are in the minority. So they can't pass a budget without Republicans, unfortunately. It's like being on a team in school with a kid who just won't do the work, but you're still going to get the same grade as them, right? So Democrats are waiting and very willing to pass what needs to be passed, which is a clean continuing resolution that will just kick the can down the road a tiny bit into December, so they've got a little bit more time to put their spending packages together and get it all done so that they can go into next year with all of their spending in place. But Republicans don't want to pass a clean resolution, and they want to pass the SAVE Act, which I talked about last week, and you can go back and watch that video if you want, but just to very short version, the SAVE Act is a voter suppression bill. It is an unnecessary bill that would require proof of citizenship in order to register to vote. Something we've never had in our country's history. There's never been a requirement that you show proof of citizenship in order to register, even though you must be a citizen to vote. Voting when you are not registered or a citizen is a felony, and it is vanishingly rare. But Donald Trump, here he comes into the story. He wants the SAVE Act because he wants to continue to sow distrust in our elections, because he can't win fair and square with his policies because he has no policies. So he keeps trying to pass this bill because he's trying to gin up this idea that non-citizens are voting in large numbers, which has been disproven over and over and over again. Nobody believes it. It's just not fact. There's no data to back it up. But I'm drumming this point in because Donald Trump is willing to shut down the government over this, to get his messaging bill that will help sow distrust in our democracy, even though that bill cannot pass in the Senate, impossible, and even by some miracle were it to pass in the Senate, it would get vetoed by Joe Biden, and everybody knows it. And yet Donald Trump has got Mike Johnson's you-know-what in his little tiny fist, and so Mike Johnson has no choice. He is saying, we're gonna pass the SAVE Act, and that 6-month continuing resolution, we're just gonna figure it out, but he doesn't have the votes. And the proof of the fact that he doesn't have the votes is that he was scheduled to bring this to a vote last week on Wednesday, and at the very last minute he pulled it, which is really embarrassing for a Speaker of the House to do. That is not the way it's supposed to look. Nancy Pelosi never did that. He can't get the votes he needs. And he has a sort of magical idea that maybe if he threatens to put it on the floor, the votes will appear. They don't, because the votes aren't there. And it's not so much about the SAVE Act as it is about that 6-month continuing resolution. There are a bunch of Republican factions who have problems with it for all different kinds of reasons. So it's really hard to get, it's like herding cats with them, right? Angry cats. And I think, that's because the Republicans essentially at this point, they all hate each other. There's these factions and they're all fighting because they're all vying for power. There's no service attitude in there. They're not like, how can I help my constituents? They want power. So they're all at each other's throats all the time. So the long and the short of it is that Mike Johnson doesn't have the votes, but he's not going to admit that he doesn't have the votes because Trump won't let him admit it. Trump is saying, get that SAVE Act and that continuing resolution or shut down the government. And this is what I really want to leave you with. What's going to end up happening from everything I'm reading is that in the very end, right before we fall off of that, government shutdown cliff, Mike Johnson is going to do what we all know he's going to do. He's going to work with the Democrats, and they're going to pass a clean continuing resolution. But it's not going to happen until the last minute, because until then, Mike Johnson is going to pretend that he has the power to get these bills through because Donald Trump is telling him that that's what he has to do. And I just want to remind you that this is not what leadership looks like. It's not what governing looks like. It's not what caring about the American people looks like. And if you're someone who is supporting Trump or thinking about supporting Trump, he is willing to shut down the government to get a messaging bill through that will not pass and that is not necessary and that is only drumming up fear and distrust in our democracy. Why would you support that? And why would you support a party that absolutely, absolutely cannot govern? Pathetic. So that is where we stand right now. Will we have a government shutdown? I don't think so, but Donald Trump really likes to break things, so we'll have to wait and see, and I will be sure to come back with another update as soon as I get one.